Hey everybody, you're now listening to Cup of Queens with Paige and Saray, and today we're so excited to have our first guest from Omaha, Nebraska, Kayla, who is the owner and founder of the Pelvic Physio. Kayla and her team specialize in all things women's health, consisting of pelvic pain, pregnancy, postpartum, bowel, and bladder dysfunctions.
Kayla is so passionate and knowledgeable about helping women feel confident and live fulfilled lives. She talks with us about some of her favorite life-changing success stories, common misconceptions, and that it is okay to seek help. It is the mission of the Pelvic Physio to reach women before they feel like they've run out of options.
So grab your cup and enjoy!
Hi ladies, how are you?
Good, it's so fun to finally meet you.
I know, even if it's across video, it's great.
Hey, it works, yeah. Oh,
yeah.
North Dakota sometime soon.
Yeah, definitely. Hopefully this summer at the lake for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys should tell how you guys kind of know each other. It's so funny to me. It's just such a small world. I know, it's such a small world. So you are my fiance's cousin.
Yes.
Yep. Crazy. And so now you live in Omaha. You grew up in Fargo though, right?
Grand Forks, actually.
Oh, cool. Okay.
Yeah.
I know. So Phyllis was actually the one that, and I had thought about it before, but she was like, you should really reach out to Kayla. And I'm like, okay, well, yeah, if you think she'd do it, then. So
yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me on, by the way. This is so fun.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. It's such, we have obviously like looked at your website and all the different things that you do, and we've never had anyone like this before. And I think it's such an interesting area of topics. Mm-hmm. So we're so excited to just learn from you, hear about kind of what you're doing. So, I mean, let's just jump right in. Would you mind telling us a little bit about yourself and how you got into this?
Yeah, so I am a pelvic floor physical therapist. I graduated in 2014. We all graduate with the same credentials. So I'm trained just like any other physical therapist, which is a common misconception. After that, my husband and I, we moved to Colorado, and that's where I got trained in the women's health and pelvic floor side of it. I was there about 4 years, and then we got stationed. My husband's active duty Air Force. So we got stationed here in Omaha. And we've been here 4 or 5 years now. And as of February 2021, I opened my own practice, the Pelvic Physio, and now we just serve the women's health community, which has been awesome.
That is so cool. I love that you guys are able to bring that to the community.
Yeah.
Yes, it's so needed. I was at a clinic where I was just a piece of it. And I realized that, you know, women deserve their own spot where they can just be them, feel comfortable. It's not super clinical. I mean, I tell everyone, I try and trick them into thinking they're in a coffee shop. The tables are warm, you know, pretty much anything you'd want on the gynecologist, we're going to provide here.
I wish my doctor would make it feel like a coffee shop. That sounds incredible.
That's what I'm saying. I know I'm trying to get all these OBs on board, but
oh my God.
Oh, that's cool. So what are some of the most common reasons that your clients seek out your services, or, you know, kind of what does that day-to-day look like for your clients?
Yeah. So anything related to the pelvic floor or core. And really, I kind of tell everyone your pelvis is the main way you transfer load all over your body. So there's really not an injury that happens that doesn't include your pelvic floor. I mean, it's on with every breath you take, every time you go to the bathroom, every time you move your arms and legs, it's just always on. So really we see a wide range of diagnoses. Commonly though, we definitely cater to the postpartum pregnant population, whether they're just trying to be preventative or whether they're, you know, dealing with some pain or some stuff after birth. We see a lot of women with, you know, complaints of pain with sex, pain with tampons. And this is even prior to babies too. Or like if, you know, bladder leakage, you hear about people like leaking urine when they're jumping on the trampoline or running or sneezing. And so, I mean, that is our base population here, but it definitely extends even to people and women with long history of hip pain or like the chronic, like SI pain or the sciatica that you hear about. We just have a little bit different way of treating it that is just so wonderful for so many people.
That is so cool. And I would imagine just because it's a topic, like I said, we've never talked about on our show. And honestly, I've never even talked about with like my friends. Like, I feel like it's just something not taboo, but a little bit forgotten or overlooked. And so are there common, scenarios where you hear women come in and think that what they're experiencing is normal? Is there a lot of moments that happen like that? And if so, what are those?
That is almost every single day. And honestly, like that's kind of that's a piece of what brought me to making it its own clinic too, because I spent the first chunk of my career just waiting for physicians to decide it was a good time to send women, instead of getting in front of women and telling them, this is not normal. You don't have to feel this way. And there's something we can do about it without asking for permission. But I mean, you hear the common things like, oh, I just thought it was normal to pee my pants after I had a baby, or I just thought back pain was normal when I was pregnant, or I just thought it was me that couldn't use tampons, or, those things we hear all the time. And none of that is actually normal. It's common, but it's not necessarily normal.
Wow. Dang. That is wild.
Mm-hmm. So, okay, I kind of want to back up. I'm just curious. So what made you want to get trained in this specific area? Like what kind of was that drawing factor?
So I wanted to be an OBGYN like my whole life. And then I decided I didn't really want to work that hard. They work very hard. So I've been an athlete my whole life. So I jumped over to the physical therapy side, just kind of honestly on a whim. And at my first clinical, there was a women's health physical therapist. And because I had that, desire to work with women, I was like, let me shadow you. And so I spent the day with her and I literally watched her change lives all day. And all of a sudden I was like, none of these old men with knee pain matter. When you get
done with them,
they're fine.
Seriously, stop drinking Mountain Dew. The things that matter are getting women to have pain-free sex with their husband, to get women so they can run with their kids, to get women so they're not in pain and they can enjoy their pregnancies. I just feel like I'm just kind of called to do that because it matters to me so much more. And I literally feel like I get to change lives every single day. And in the world of physical therapy, we don't get to save the world too much. So this is just a nice area that we feel like we can really, truly make a difference.
Absolutely.
That so cool. I love that.
Yeah. Super inspiring. And I love that you mentioned earlier how you said, injuries, a lot of those, they do kind of all affect that core central part to us. And so I would imagine that kind of allows you to work with all age ranges. Is that what it is? Or what does that kind of look like?
Yes, 100%. So when I was in Colorado, I did pediatrics in there too, because if you think about it, kids have constipation, kids are bedwetting, kids have, issues like that. And then I even hear, I'll have gymnasts with tailbone injuries or chronic hip pain. And then, even the Olympians talk about how they're peeing when they're tumbling. And so all of that is not normal, and it's all pelvic floor related symptoms. And then, I obviously see women through pregnancy, postpartum, even like some preconception, and then, into menopause with hormone change. And so we kind of see the whole spectrum. And a common question too is, do men have pelvic floors? And the answer is yes, they have pelvic floors. They're just not as affected by, day-to-day stuff as women are. But yeah, you can see throughout every age, everyone can have pelvic floor issues.
It's just crazy to me because you don't hear about this. Like, this is not something that is discussed or that you hear a lot about, but all these things that you're talking about, I'm like, well, yeah, those seem like those do happen a lot, but the solution doesn't seem to be discussed a lot.
Right. And I'm thankful for social media because we are able to get in front of more people. And like TikTok is, it's really helping because, women are able to find their own solutions instead of waiting for someone to give them one, which is great. But we definitely have a long way to go. And our postpartum care in America for, as great of a country as this is just terrible compared to most of the European countries. Like pelvic floor physical therapy is just a standard referral after every woman has a baby in other countries. And here we are, most postpartum women don't even know that there was an option to feel better.
I think that is so true though, because I think nowadays, people are like, what's the quickest? What's the most convenient? Yes. Can I just take a pill for it? Or, but you don't want to take a medication like that for the rest of your life. How healthy is that really? And I have no idea, but I just love that it's a natural way that you can fix those. different things.
Absolutely. And I mean, a lot of times, so we see a lot of women with like endometriosis or PCOS or those types of conditions too. And while we're not curing endometriosis, anytime you have pain, you have muscle pain and muscle dysfunction that goes along with it. So even if we can take a layer of that dysfunction away and give you some relief, like we can work hand in hand with a lot of things that your OBGYN is doing too. I mean, and the same goes for GI conditions, because I'll see women with just like a history of constipation and it's all related to the pelvic floor tension. So, I mean, we're kind of there in all of these different areas and can just support your journey no matter, where you're at with it.
What are some of the like top 3 things that you think, or I mean, even if it's more than 3, that you think women should know about their health?
Oh, I get, this is one of like my soapboxes. So I'm actually kind of glad you asked the question.
Let's hear it.
So it is never just in your head. It is never just in your head. There's always a root cause for everything. And and that kind of leads into the second one of it's okay to fight for what you deserve. And it's probably not just going to be one provider. It's going to be multiple if you're having issues go on, because it's always something. Providers often like cause the issues to be necessarily like in your head just because they tell you and they ignore you for so long that of course you're going to get anxiety. Mm-hmm. But, so that, I mean, those 2 are big ones too. And then I always tell women, like, you're so much more complex than just a muscle weakness. So never let anyone blame something on just a muscle weakness. And that's coming from a PT. It's just like your body there's so much going on and you respond to so many different things and hormones and stress and all of that it's never just a muscle weakness. And so don't ever let that be your answer. I feel like we just kind of get like shoved out the door. Like you're just like, you go to your OB and you just give in the birth control and like get out of my office is how we handle so many things, which is awful. And so I just try every day to empower women to be like, wait, I know my body. I know this isn't right. If you're not my person, I'm a person and we're going to figure this out.
Mm-hmm. That's so true.
I think there's so many women that can relate to what you just said about being in your head. Like the times where I do hear friends bring up, different things that are like, is this normal? Do you experience that? Oh, it's probably just me being, over analyzing, but you're so right. It's not. You deserve to feel like 100%.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah. And I mean, I like every single day I hear somebody get told that it's all in their head. And really what we find here explains every single symptom.
Wow.
Dang.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
So walk us through, let's say someone enters your office and they're not necessarily even experiencing something that, feels wrong or off. What are kind of the different steps that you guys take to ensure that everything is working properly or to the optimal, best?
So we'll look head to toe and just make sure that your range of motion looks good. Obviously strength looks good, but then we also want to see like how you're breathing, because so many people are breathing the wrong way. And in the yoga community, even we talk about like the diaphragmatic breathing or the belly breathing, but really you should be getting breath into your back and sides and all around your body. And what that does is it allows your organs to move down when you take a breath. It allows you to go into like that rest and digest and out of that like stress response. It allows your pelvic floor to move. So we have a huge breathing focus just to make sure you know how to breathe. And then beyond that, we look at the pelvic floor and make sure it's, working with your abdominals, the pelvic floor. So this is another thing too, with going back to the women's health myths is Kegels are not the answer. I don't know if you guys have heard that, but like, they're not the answer. And your body never does one. And so we want to make sure all your muscles are functioning together like they should instead of individually at isolation, because that's just not how it works when you stand up. So we look at all that. We even look at people's feet, because that's where, you spend so much time on your feet that if your feet aren't in a proper position, that's going to affect everything up the chain. And more often than not, we'll have women come in and they're like, no, I'm healthy. I'm fine. Everything is good. And then, we'll find something along the way. And just because you're not having symptoms now doesn't mean you wouldn't develop them later. So we can really get ahead of it. So you don't have to live for 5 years with symptoms looking for the answer. I mean, we can get ahead of it now, and then you can, have a good pregnancy or whatever your goals are.
That was wild. Yeah. Like looking from the feet up, I mean, it makes so much sense when you say that, but I feel also like I've never heard anyone say that.
Same. Yeah. I love that you have a very, like, you're really thorough on what you're looking for. And, you really want to help people feel their best self. So what are some of your, I don't know if you have like a favorite success story. I'm always so curious to ask that to people.
Yes. I mean, luckily I have had quite a few because it's a fun world to work in, but there's nothing better. So I saw this young woman, they've been struggling with infertility for like 2 or 3 years. And part of it was she couldn't have sex without pain. And so if you can't have sex, it's really hard to get pregnant. And so we worked through that. We got her to a good spot where her pelvic floor was better. She was able to have pain-free sex. And then, I even helped her look at her diet and like managing her hormones a little bit better and what she can do to support her hormones. And then she got pregnant and she saw me throughout her pregnancy. She had a great pregnancy, had a great delivery. And now we have a sweet little baby boy.
Oh my gosh. That's
amazing.
Incredible. So you guys, like, you are really looking at this all-encompassing, holistic, I mean, even like hormonal balancing too, which I always find super interesting. I feel like I've heard that, I don't want to say it as a buzzword, but I feel like it is something that people are being more attentive to, which is incredible. So what can you speak on for the hormonal side of things?
So women in general, we're over-exercising and we're doing too much cardio. And cardio is, if your body's not in a really good natural state, cardio is a stressor for it's a huge stressor. It can lead to elevated cortisol levels. And then, that leads to decreased progesterone and just like a whole like myriad of things. So I typically tell women, scale back the cardio, lift weights. You need to strength train. It is so important for women to strength train. But for the most part, I have women that come in, they're doing like hour of cardio 6 days a week. And they're like, I can't lose any weight. And then I tell them to stop exercising for 2 weeks and they lose 5 pounds. And it's just because they put their body in just this state of stress all the time. And so, that is typically like the biggest thing I see is just that women are just way over exercising and truly under eating, honestly.
Wow.
Which the cardio thing, honestly, I would have never thought.
I would have never thought it in the terms that you're saying. Yeah. Like I've thought of, you're working out too much and you're burning too many calories, but I didn't think about the stress side of things, which makes sense.
Yeah. And like for women that have, especially the endometriosis, PCOS or thyroid, they're all interconnected. And they all kind of start with your cortisol levels, that stress response, and then it works its way down from there. So really, a lot of times, all these symptoms women have, it kind of goes back to like blood sugar and stress. And so I really talk through that with a lot of women just to get their body in a good space where then you can tolerate exercise and it allows them to heal truly.
Wow. That is incredible. Yeah. And I would imagine when you work with women on, that example, just in particular, you probably help bring a lot of confidence to them. And I'm just curious to hear, what are the areas that you have helped women beyond what we just discussed feel so confident in themselves after seeing you?
The best part about it is I feel like we can truly change relationships, relationships with their spouse a lot of the times. I've had women that, they haven't been able to have sex with their husband for 10, 15 years. And like you allow someone to go back and that's a connection that, that they didn't even know how much they were missing. And so, that is incredible to be able to be on that side of it too. And then, just everyday life, if you are worried about going into Target because you might pee yourself when you sneeze, like to be able to do that and be confident that you're not going to, that opens up the whole world again.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. Like It's so simple, but those little things make a big difference in the quality of life.
And it's just one less thing that you don't have to worry about. You can not worry about running to the bathroom every 10 minutes, which I do personally.
Yeah. Paige knows a thing or two about that.
I know a thing or two about bladder, but anyway, no, not trying to make fun of it, but so what are different things? Because I know at the beginning you talked a lot about helping women postpartum. And so, how are you able to do that? I guess I'm really curious on that topic.
So what's funny about postpartum is nobody really owns the postpartum time frame, because you see your OB for that 6 week, or you get your 6 week visit, you leave the hospital, 6 week visit, you're kind of on your own. Anything beyond that, a lot of times they'll just kind of turf to a primary care doctor who really doesn't know anything about what you just went through, or the postpartum time frame. So it's just this area where women can kind of get lost. So what's nice is if we see women, we see them a little bit more consistently. And then not only can we advise them on the physical part to it, we can watch the mental side. We can help them with that. We can give them the resources for, lactation consultants or whoever, mental health, whoever they need, which is valuable for sure. From the physical therapy side, we do everything. We make sure that scars heal well. We make sure all their muscles turn back on and they're coordinated in the right way. We make sure that they return to exercise without problems. Pooping, peeing, pretty sex, all of it. We just help them navigate that time frame, because that is a major life event, that especially C-sections, that's a major surgery. And to just close somebody up and say, see you in 6 weeks is a little bit frightening to me. So it's just kind of nice to help them navigate that time frame.
Mm-hmm. So and I know it's got to be different women to women. There's no one size fits all, but what kind of do you typically see as far as a time frame, let's say, right from delivery to someone being, 100% cleared to work out, for example?
Sure. That is really tough. So I like women to work out and to keep working out at the same level throughout their pregnancy, as long as there's not high risk for any sort of bleeding. So that being said, if they're pretty active going into delivery, and then, in a normal scenario with birth where there's maybe a little bit of tearing, even possibly a C-section, I tell women for sure think, that full 9 months to a year. And then I always remind women that it takes about 2 years to heal from a birth and just being pregnant and everything that you go through. So especially if you're breastfeeding, because with breastfeeding women, they still have the same hormones as you do when you're pregnant. So the same hormones that keep your ligaments a little more lax, and it just kind of makes your joints a little looser. They still have that until 6 months after you're done breastfeeding. And so if you think about that time frame, a lot of women breastfeed for a year, then 6 months later, that's 18 months. Well, now a lot of women are pregnant again. So the healing time frame is tricky within that, because do we truly, especially between babies, a lot of times you truly don't ever get that full healing. But there's a lot of things we can look at within that time frame to see, can you go back to running? Can you go back to impact? 6 weeks is definitely not the answer. I have women start working out earlier, actually, because if you think about it, if you're pregnant for 9 months, you're working out your whole 9 months, and you have a baby, and then you take 6 weeks off, you're going to be more deconditioned at 6 weeks than you did at 40 weeks pregnant. Yeah. So there's a lot you can do within those first 6 weeks. And so I have women do a lot of stuff within there. And then at that 6 week time frame, then we kind of look at how their body and how they're holding certain positions and how their abs are firing, in hopes that, we can start going back to running, going back to impact around 4 months. And then by 9 months, pretty much be working out the way they want to work out. That's on average, I would say.
Wow. Sure. I feel like I see women at the gym who I'm like, you look ready to pop. You have got to be far along. And I've always applauded those women who have done that. But I think that would be so hard to navigate, towards end of pregnancy and then, very early postpartum. What can you even do as far as exercise without, over exercising or, making yourself more prone to injury? What are some examples of things that you would recommend?
So especially towards the end of pregnancy, I tell women all the time, like your body's typically, I mean, it's not going to let you do something that's going to put you in a bad place. I mean, our bodies are amazing. And the research now is showing that even high intensity exercise will increase the blood flow to the placenta, which we were always worried that it would take it away and divert it to, you know, your muscles that are working. And it's shown that that's not even the case because our bodies are freaking amazing. So I mean, I have women wash their abdominals to make sure that they're not seeing that separation. And every pregnant woman is going to have abdominal separation. That is what our body is intended for. The problem with it becomes when you see that coning, or where it starts to kind of pooch up in between those abdominal muscles. So I tell women, if you're exercising and you're not seeing that, you're safe to do it. If you're not having symptoms where you're not leaking or you're not getting like pubic bone pain or back pain, you're safe to do it. And then postpartum, we kind of take those same recommendations and just kind of back up the intensity a little bit, and then kind of make sure that the muscles. So another thing I talk about a lot is mom butt. Mom butt is 100% a real thing. So when you're pregnant, your pelvis widens and your glutes don't work as well. The glute muscles, just because of their position, don't work as well. So you lose a lot of glute muscle. So postpartum, then we really want to start and get everything working again, because they're your major hip mover, you know? And so I have women start doing those sorts of things. But I mean, I wouldn't tell someone ever to like, you know, jump or run or anything like that. Everything in those first few weeks is, you know, just very cautious. But again, using the muscles that you were using all along.
Wow. These are great. These are things I've just never thought of before.
Yeah. I mean, I think, you know, I'm very biased, but I feel like every woman should have like a good pelvic floor kind of whole wellness sort of screen, just because I say too, like with pregnancy, pregnancy doesn't cause anything. If you get back pain in pregnancy, it was there prior to being pregnant. It just kind of exacerbates what you already had. And so, because I mean, pregnancy is not a disease, right? Our bodies are made to be pregnant. So if you're having symptoms, they were there all along. They were just under that threshold. So if you can, so we see a lot of women for preconception where they're like, either, you know, I see women that are going to get married and going to have sex, or that are wanting to have a baby within the next 6 months to a year or whatever it is. And they just, you know, want to be sure that they can be in the best state they can. And I mean, that's really great because again, like we can get ahead of a lot of stuff.
Mm-hmm. Wow. So many things I didn't even think about, which is so great to know. I mean, just as a resource. So, but kind of speaking on like the business side, what are different things that keep you motivated? And I feel like you're so busy running a million miles an hour and you have a ton of clients on the day to day. So, you know, how do you maintain your stress levels and continue to be the best business owner you can?
So, I mean, obviously my family and my kids and my husband, but on the business side, I have the best patients in the world. And I mean, in my world, like everything is really TMI. Everything is TMI, you know, like everybody's telling you their business all the time. So it's truly an honor for people to tell me those sorts of things. And so I'm just so motivated by them and their stories and and just helping them get better, because I mean, sometimes like people haven't had an answer for 15 years. These women come in and they, you know, and they're willing to do anything. They just haven't had the right answers. And so it's just motivating to watch them show up. I mean, I can't go to an appointment once a week right now. No way, but I'm asking these women to do it. And I mean, so it's just, I truly, truly love what I do. And I truly love helping these women and being a part of the most intimate piece of their life. Mm-hmm. And then stress, I mean, we're always a work in progress there, I think. So everybody's a work in progress. We'll just say that.
Yeah. That's honestly the best answer. I'm glad you didn't even sugarcoat it. You're like, it's a work in progress.
Every day's a new day.
Yeah. We're all there. So we just got to be honest about it. Yeah. I love it. But I mean, obviously you have been able to impact so many women, and I'm sure I can't even imagine the lives that you've changed that you don't even know about. But with that, I'm sure you make a lot of people feel like queens, and being on Cup of Queens, we love to ask this question because we think it's important to just hear the different perspective and answers from our guests. So what does a queen mean to you?
A queen is someone who truly knows her worth and is willing to fight for it and will, empower other women too, and cheer on other women, is even in the same space, just because, it's so easy, to compare and to like try and make yourself feel better with someone's doing the same thing. But a true queen will cheer them on instead of put them down.
Amen,
to that.
sister.
Yeah, that was so good.
So I do have to ask this just because we're on the topic of queens and women. So is your office primarily just women then that work with
100% women.
Okay.
So
that is
cool.
really, really cool.
Yeah. How many employees do you have?
So I have one other PT now. I'm hiring another one here soon. So there will be 3 of us PTs. And then my front desk, I have 3 of those too, because they're all PT students who want to be in the women's health world, which is incredible. I have the most amazing staff, and they all truly have a passion for what we do.
That's
incredible.
So awesome.
Yeah.
And we're going to ask you to, share with us how to get in contact with you and your team. But before we do that, I think it would be great if you could just kind of rattle off some of those different services that you offer and maybe those common issues that you help, just so that our listeners, after kind of hearing everything you've been able to share with us, can kind of know where to start and what maybe you can be able to best help them with.
Yes. So if you have bowel symptoms, we'll start in the back with constipation. You could have tailbone pain, rectal pressure, leakage there, difficulty holding back gas. Then we'll go up if you have pain with sex, pain with tampons, like really bad PMS, endometriosis, PCOS, or bladder urgency, where you feel, frequency, you feel like you're peeing all the time, getting up in the middle of the night to pee, leakage, anything like that, burning with a full bladder, or any weird, sharp pain with a full bladder. If you have hip pain, low back pain, or that SI joint pain in the back where it's kind of can radiate down the back of your thigh, pelvic PT is a great place to start. Because again, we're all trained the same. I've been trained just like your regular orthopedic PT that you would see. We just have an additional skill set to be able to treat it a little better. Unbiased.
No, it makes sense. Yeah. You're just more specified. And I think it's such a cool thing to have such a focus on women and be able to really transform and better those areas that project into other areas of our life. It really is all encompassing, and it all is connected.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. And in the beginning, it was really heavy because I would take a lot of the hard stories home, but now I've just seen women do so well. And so every woman that walks in the door, I just think I can't wait to see you on the other side. I can't wait for you to see what this looks like, because I know what this looks like, and I can't wait for you to get there.
I love that.
Incredible. You can tell you just are so passionate about this.
Passionate
and
about it.
Really fun to watch and listen to.
And just, you're doing everything for the right reasons. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah.
So tell everybody where they can connect with you, find you, and learn more.
I'm on Instagram and Facebook. We're at the Pelvic Physio Omaha. And then our website is www.thepelvicphysioomaha.com.
Perfect. We'll link all of that, and we'll continue to share that all week throughout your episode.
Yes.
So thank you
so
much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thanks so much, you guys.
It was so fun.
Yeah.